Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Before we get into the content of the video, I'd just like to say today the embargo is being lifted for Men of War 2. So we'll be streaming the game today if you want to have a look at it. Men of War is one of those series that I've enjoyed for a long time. It's a RTS based around the Second World War and is kind of in a way like War Thunder, where it's great at marrying realistic or historical mechanics and also ease of gameplay. So make sure to check out the streams today just to see what's going on. Now, let's get into some of the War Thunder stuff. First of all, there is the Air Superiority 2024 tournament, which is going to be going on. Basically, it is going to be going on 2 weekends, the 18th to the 19th of May, and also the 25th to the 26th of May. And as usual, they are doing Twitch drops. So you can get yourself some cool camouflages, along with some other stuff which is going on. Basically, you can get the Night Stalker camouflage for the ZTZ-99A, also the F-16ADF camouflage too, and also some Silver Lions boosters, research point boosters, and also a day of premium account. These are going to be only on the official War Thunder Esports channels, the English, German, French, and Russian one, and also, at the same time, they are being sponsored by Virpil Controls, which is a flight sim stick manufacturer, basically. And if you like buying that stuff, they do have a discount code, 10% off stuff, which is fair enough, because these things are pretty expensive. Especially from the general company. Just looking at a standard setup, you're easily going to get put back about 900 euros, which is just like crazy. I don't even know if they ship to the US. But yeah, it's worth having a look if you enjoy that part of gaming, and I know a lot of you guys do. So yeah, have a look at that. There's also an Air Superiority pack, which is available. You can get yourself the Flanking Snail decal, the Slick Flanker title, and also 300 GE. It's only $1.99. You can even use my discount code to be able to get a discount on it, and I'll leave a link to that in a pinned comment in the description, so you can pick it up. Basically, the pack itself is worth the GE itself, and also you obviously get some extras, so make sure to pick it up. I'm going to pick it up because I like collecting these things. So one of the constant questions that always comes up when it comes to War Thunder is, where are the new game modes? Where are the kind of mythical changes to that part of the game which people want? And this has always been a kind of tough area to look at, because War Thunder itself already has some, well, it has more game modes than most games in the world. You have obviously the arcade, the realistic, and the simulator setup when it comes to ground and aviation. Especially the simulator stuff and the realistic stuff for air has changed and morphed so many times over the years. And then in ground, it has stayed pretty stagnant for many years, but the maps themselves have been changed or modified to move around. In naval, there has been a lot of stagnation because it's obviously quite hard to try and balance the two sets of coastal and also blue water, especially if you run them together. And therefore there's always this call of, well, where are the new game modes? Why can't we get new stuff in? And whenever this is brought up, I always ask the same question. Well, what game modes would you like to see? And the answer is always the same. It's always the same from people, and it's random FPS, random game mode from that FPS. Why can't we have that in War Thunder? Usually it's Battlefield with some kind of progression game mode where you have to cap a point and then it moves you to a different map and then you cap another point. Or it's the Rush game mode, which was popularized in Battlefield Bad Company games, where you take a position, you blow up the gold, and then you move on to the next position. Or it's Capture the Flag, or it's something similar to that, which is around the place. Even Battle Royale is something that was brought up over the years. Now, since I've been here for a long time when it comes to War Thunder, one of the things that probably has been forgotten or just hasn't been seen by people is Gaijin has actually tested all of these modes. Like, whether it comes to the Rush game mode, whether it comes to the general progression game modes where you cap, certain areas and then move forward, or whether it comes to Capture the Flag, or even Battle Royale. They've done events over the years where all of these have been present, and trying to kind of, fix them as ideas. The Battle Royale event was a few years ago, and if you got so many kills in it, or if you finished in such a position, you actually got some cool decorations out of it. And it was a map where the squares would disappear over time. You could get like an artillery power-up, which you could then bonk on somebody, and it basically became whoever spawned in the right place, and also at the same time, whoever was using a specific vehicle would win the map. And yeah, it just kind of got boring as it went along, because the thing about War Thunder is it's not like a standard FPS. The movement and mobility parts and also the respawning part mechanics are very different, which is why it's hard to morph these game modes into War Thunder. The Rush game mode was tried a while ago, like a long time ago, and technically PvE Assault is built off that premise. The Capture the Flag was tried in Naval, where they did a Christmas event where you had to pick up a Christmas present and bring it back to your base. So obviously they've done that previously. And then also there was a general progression kind of game mode where you push forward on a front line and push it back and then keep doing that. That used to be a game mode called Break, where you would capture a zone and then that would move the spawns of each side and then you would progress to the next one. The problem with this mode is it actually promoted people not fighting and going for the caps instead. And also, one of the problems was if you cap certain zones, the spawn zone was right next to the other cap zone. So if you died, you would spawn and then just hammer people on the other cap. It didn't really work very well. So that was there, but also they tried another event where they had this kind of setup where they decided to have a map where you would progress through it with a frontline deal. So you would, fight on the first front line, win the battles, and then push forward, and then win those battles and go from there. That actually was tested about a year ago. So they have tested a lot of these ideas, even like with World War mode, with all the PvE stuff, and also, trying to mix the PvP with the PvE, trying to make you part of a larger battle that was going on. And then also you have, just the standard PvE stuff, like, Flight to the Swallows, the single missions, the dynamic campaigns, the historical missions. All of these things exist, or have existed in the past, and tested, and either found fundamental flaws, or are probably being worked on going forward to try and create a balanced setup. They've even tried a TF2 style go after the package kind of thing, or an attack and defend setup, and that's one of those things which a lot of people have brought up over the time. And because, once again, it's an FPS mode, and people just think FPS modes would work in War Thunder. So here's the issue, okay? By adding in like FPS modes into War Thunder. FPSs, especially stuff like Call of Duty, Battlefield, TF2, Overwatch, all have fast respawning mechanics in them, and also have a lot of mobility and have maps which are more designed so you can actually move around them in different ways. And if you die, it's not exactly as huge of a deal, right? Because you can get back to those positions super quick, because usually the maps are quite cramped in areas and open in others, so it's easy to move between them, and once again, there's a lot more mobility. With War Thunder, you are pigeonholed because you are using vehicles instead of general infantry, meaning that the target's a lot larger, you generally die in one shot, and in modes where you have an offense and a defense, the defense has such a ridiculous advantage because of this. It is very hard to kind of push forward, which is what you see when, you second spawn in a battle and people have already taken, those defensive positions to pin you into the spawn. That's basically what's happening. It's very hard to react to somebody who sees you and is hiding behind a hill, pops over, bang, and then goes back. And that's why those types of modes never really work when it comes to War Thunder. And it kind of sucks. It's just, unfortunately, why you can't really compare a lot of those other games to War Thunder, because of the respawn mechanics, and also because of just the general mobility and size of these things. It just doesn't work on the grand scale. You can't have repeated respawns over and over again trying to push a place, because it's very easy to lock down an area in, you know, these general areas, you'd have to keep throwing bodies over and over and over again. And one of the things that we've seen with asymmetrical warfare in War Thunder, so an attack or defend setup, people will just leave if they're on the side that they don't want to play. This happened a lot in the this was shown a lot in the World War mode setup. This was also shown a lot in World War II Chronicles, which was more of the historical matchmaking event that they used to do every year. People would just not play the side which was less favored, and if they did play that side, it was basically just because they only had the vehicles or because they were trying to farm kills in squads to get the events done quickly against people who were trying to play the favored stuff. You see it even in Simulator to this day, where one side is already packed compared to the other one. So it just creates this scenario where it's unbalanced gameplay, and it leads to everybody playing one side. And that's what happened in World War mode, and that's what happens in these types of events, where people end up just leaving. Now, I've always been a great proponent of the PvE part of War Thunder. I wish they sold some expansions or DLCs or something which gave you access to a unique plane if you completed, you know, a certain set of like single missions. I always like the idea of doing a historical campaign with like a tank or with a airplane or a ship where you play through, you know, specific battles which were in the Second World War or maybe in other wars, and maybe you get a special version of something. Maybe you get that M48 from Vietnam, which had the Gatling gun on it. Maybe, or maybe just, you know, an extra machine gun. Maybe when you play through a campaign on the, I don't know, let's say a D-Day campaign or something, you get yourself a Sherman which has a scoop on it. You know, just simple little things like this, which you could sell as DLCs or expansions, and they promote the single player or maybe cooperative experience, but also feed into the main PvP game. And that, to me, has always been the area to expand, but also at the same time, I get why people want more modes. Playing the same stuff over and over again can get a little bit tiring, especially if you only play one of the modes in the game. And they have tried a bunch of different stuff. They've even tried to improve their AI stuff, you know, over the years, and still it's at a point where I don't personally think it's in a great way, and that's just because of the realistic damage mechanics that are in War Thunder. If they actually went to a different damage set of mechanics, if they actually went to more of a HP system, it would work a hell of a lot better, because you wouldn't just randomly get one-shot by things which you don't see. But we don't live in that world, and that's why these types of things don't work. And you can add whatever game mode you want, but it would be incredibly in favor of the defender, or it would be incredibly in favor of one side, and you would get so many complaints, because that's how all of these events gone. Remember, if you've had an idea when it comes to War Thunder, some of the devs, or some dev, or some idea guy has probably had it too. And a lot of the game modes that you've thought of have been tested, and have not worked very well when it comes to War Thunder. Even the large map idea, or the continuous conquest idea, where you just keep going in. It doesn't work, because people win the initial engagement, and then they just sit around and wait for people to push in, and just hammer them over again. So you have such a disadvantage going in, unless you're in a very fully cooperated team, and also hope that the enemy isn't, it's incredibly hard to deal with. And also it's pretty boring just basically driving for 10 minutes to get shot in the face, which is why a lot of people don't enjoy it as much. Maybe in the future these things could happen once again from a PvE point of view, but from a PvP point of view, there's too many abuses and it's just way too easy to hammer around. And also, we do have the War Thunder CDK, so if people want to give this stuff a go, if you guys want to see more of this, and more game modes, you know, we have the opportunities to be able to build them ourselves and see how they go, and I think we should. At the same time, I would like to see more race content and, you know, more sporty content, especially with the Olympics coming up. I think that'll be really cool. Why not do that too? As always though, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Tullio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pieman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Alan Hacker, Ozzy Panzer, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Cam Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.